Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna show you how I make my pike leaders. We done that on one of the live streams, but I had a few people ask me to make a video especially for it, so hopefully it'll reach more people that way. So first of all, the pike leader that I use are the one that works for me. I'm not saying they're the best. I'm not saying they're going to work for you, but for me, it's the best that I've come up over the years of fishing. So just to give you a little bit of a background about myself, I've been fishing for pike for over 30 years now, fly fishing for about 15 years. I run and own my own fishing lodge here, so I see a lot of guys coming, so I see a lot of different leaders in and out of the place. I've been guiding for about 10 years now, and then I'm approaching about 400 pike caught on different methods over the meter mark. So I think I have a bit of a background now to be able to kind of share my views on pike leaders and to show you the one that I'm using now for the last maybe 5 years solid. This is what I've been using. So so first of all, we'll have a little quick talk about leaders, and more importantly the tippet and the bite-proof tippet that I use. Commonly, I would classify tippets for pike in three categories. One, fluorocarbon. 2, titanium, nitty wire, not too kinky, and 3, anything that's left. So usually steel, stainless steel, Soufflon, those kind of leaders. So people that know me know my views about fluorocarbon. I think for fly fishing it's absolutely pointless to use fluorocarbon, simply because fluorocarbon, to be efficient for pike, you need something over 100 pound breaking strain. So 120 would be roughly the one that I would recommend. But then what's the point having a really thick piece of line at the front of your fly? It's just gonna stop swimming it. It's just gonna stop it swimming naturally. It's gonna restrict its movement. And then using lower size fluorocarbon, you're leaving yourself open to a bite cutting your fluoro. Unfortunately, here at the lodge, I see plenty of guys coming with fluorocarbon that are way too light for pike, and I have to say they lose about 60% of trophy fish are lost due to fluorocarbon being bitten off. So that's why for pike, I just don't agree. For fly fishing anyway, for pike, I don't agree with fluorocarbon. If you haven't been caught yet, your day will come, believe me, unless you use really thick fluorocarbon. It's okay for fishing big baits, big lures. Guys use 120, 140, up to 160 fluorocarbon for big bait. Usually big bait don't get inhaled deep in the pike's mouth, but fly, usually it happen more than often that the fly will go fairly deep in the mouth of a large pike. And if you have something that's not thick enough, yeah, you leave yourself open for a world of trouble. So this is why I just do not recommend fluorocarbon. Second, titanium, nitty wire, and not too kinky, that kind of a wire base. They are really good. Cons, they're expensive, and what I don't like about them is that they will break at some stage in their life, especially if you don't change them regularly. So because of the high cost of titanium, people tend to keep them as long as possible. And what I don't like about titanium is that it will snap at some stage, and especially when you set the hooks, usually that's the time when they snap. And the thing that I really don't like is that you cannot see any weakness point. Once the titanium starts to get weak, you can look at it, turn it, bend it, you will not see any weakness point. So that kind of leaves me always worried about Is it too old? Has it worked too much? I'm not too sure. Do I change it? And then you're reluctant to change it too often because of the price of it. So I did fish with titanium, and I lost fish like that. So this is another way why I don't really use titanium anymore, or this kind of wires. So going to the wires that I use now, let's talk about steel wire, coated steel. Problem I have with that, and problem that everybody have with that, is that they kink too easily. They corkscrew way too fast. So you're constantly changing that wire, and it's just a pain in the butt. Like any small pike that you get, you start to get a corkscrew effect on the wire. So steel, not so great. But what I found over the years is a good between titanium and steel wire, and that's stainless steel. Stainless steel doesn't have as much memory as steel. It will kink, but really I could go a full session some days without any kink in the wire. It just happens sometime when the wire get caught in between the teeth and you fight the pike, or the wire slips between the teeth and you get a corkscrew. Now, saying that, having once in a while a corkscrew on your stainless steel is a good thing, because you're going to have to cut that wire and retie a new knot, or maybe once the wire starts to get too short, you're going to have to cut the wire and redo the link between the leader to your wire. So that's basically keeping your setup fresh at all time. You don't have to worry, is it too old? How long have I been using that setup? So by doing that, you're keeping your nuts fresh and your wire fresh, and you reduce considerably any accidents that might happen, and any snap at the knot or the wire breaking. So that's why I've been using stainless steel wire. The one that I use, people probably know it by now, but for the guys that are just coming in to the channel, I use bleeding wire. This is from AFW, American Fishing Wire. You can pick up, this is like a 300-meter spool. I picked that up for about €100 on eBay, and that'll last you for years after. I used 30-pound strain. I think it's never had a problem with 30-pound strain. To that, in front of that, what I use about between 1.20 m to 1.50 m. Either way of amnesia. This is 13.6 kg. Recently, I've been using a good bit the Absolute Leader material from Scientific Angler. This one is 18 kilo. It sounds a little bit big, but I go for the 18 kilo because of the thickness. I feel that if you go lower, like 30 pound, like this one, if you look, even this one is still thinner than the 13 kilo amnesia. So what I like is then go heavier. So like that, with a thicker one, you will turn your fly much easier. Advantage that I have against the amnesia, nothing wrong with the amnesia. It's super cheap, it's super strong, but it's a little bit too supple. I find it a little bit too supple. That the Absolute wire is a lot stiffer, so I feel I turn the fly a lot easier with this one. But that's about it. I've been using this for years and years and years, and I've had little to absolutely no problem with it. Coupling that at the end, you can use fast attach. They're really, everybody use fast attach these days. I would not go under a size 3. Size 3 would be my minimum. Size 4 is a little bit overkill, so I usually stay with the size 3. Another thing with the fast attach, don't keep them for long. Change them regularly as well. One pack, 10 fast attach, it's like what, €4.50 around. That'll do me a season. It's not that expensive. Change them. Maybe not every session, but depending on how many fish you catch, maybe every 2-3 sessions, change your clip. Same thing, you don't see when they get weak. And over the years, I had 2 failing me and 2 opened up on big fish, and I was gutted. And that's simply because I had fast attach that I've been working way too long and been staying on my setup for way too long. So change them regularly. They're not that expensive, so don't be cheap. Change them. So that's basically it. I'm going to show you now the knots that I make and how I tie my leader. So basically, from the fly line to the tippet, I do a perfection loop. I'm going to show you that now. I link this to the wire with a 6-turn Yucatan knot. I used to do Albright and improve Albrights. They're really good knots, but what I don't like is that if you have to make a knot on the belly boat, on the float tube, or it's cold, your fingers are cold in the winter time, the Albright is a little bit annoying to make. Like, you know, 6-turn Yucatan, it's super easy to make, and so far I had no problem with that knot. And then last, I link the wire to the fast attach with a non-slip loop knot or a Rapala knot, and I'll show you that as well, how I do that. So that's it. That's basically my view on leaders. Yeah, don't be afraid. Use strong leaders. You don't want, like, the last thing you want is have a trophy fish get away from you. And again, this is what works for me. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm not saying it's going to work for you, but I've reduced my accident rate and my bite off rate and my break off rate by nearly 0% now. I have no accident anymore using that setup. And I catch hundreds of pike every year. I know many of my clients have gone that way, and they're more than happy, and they wouldn't go back to any other ones to go. Other wires that you can use apart from the bleeding wire that I like, the partridge predator wire is pretty good as well, and the soufflon as well is pretty good, but it's more expensive than the bleeding wire, and you can't find them on bulk like that. So that's it. Now I'm going to show you how I tie the knots, and yeah, let's keep going. All right. All right, starting now with the leader material. Like I said, I use about 1.2 to 1.5 meter of that stuff. Usually, if I go sink line, I go shorter. If I go intermediate or floating line, I'll go longer. I can go down up to just 1 meter for fast sinking line, just to keep a good contact with the fish. So what I do with that, like I said, about 1.5 meter. And the first knot I do, it's the perfection loop. So this is going to link the line to your fly line. I'm going to show you the perfection loop just with a bit of paracord so you can see it a little bit better. So what I do is I do one loop like this, and I go at the back of it, not at the front. Okay, just go at the back, get your tag end, pinch that loop between your thumb and your index finger, and the tag end that you have, wrap it over your thumbnail like this. Okay, go all the way around, and then bring it between this loop and under your thumb like this. Okay, hopefully you can see properly. Pinch that, don't let it go, and all you have to do is reach this loop that you created over your thumbnail, reach through this loop and pull it through, and that's your perfection loop. Now, to know that your perfection loop is well executed, usually the tag end comes out at 90 degrees like this. There's plenty other videos on YouTube showing it probably a little bit better than what I've shown you now, but that's basically it. A little bit complicated at the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it's really easy. So one loop at the back, okay, that tag end over your thumb, and then bring it under the two loops like that between your thumb and your index, pinch it, and then through that loop you reach through and bring that loop on your thumbnail, and that's the loop that's gonna go to your fly line. So that's basically the non-slip loop knot. Now for the connection wire to the tippet, I cut about like 40 centimeters of wire, and what I do, you have the wire on one side like this, okay, and your leader material. What you're going to do with your leader material, you make a big loop, one large loop like this. So the Yucatan 6-turn knot, as the name says, it's 6 turns, but that's usually to go from fluoro to fluoro. It's a saltwater knot, but because we're going from fluoro to something that has little memory, little less memory than fluoro, we're going with stainless steel. You don't need to make 6 turn. I usually make 3 to 4 turns, and it's plenty, it's holding. So put your wire down like this, put your loop over the top like that, pinch it, the two together, so it's easy, you don't have any problem, it's not going to come out like this. And all you have to do is that loop over your wire, okay, focus, that loop over your wire, you just turn it onto your wire 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, so that's all you have, very simple. And then all you do is the tag end of your wire, you put it through the loop like this. Now important at this stage is that you hold that wire at the back like this. You need to hold the 2 tag ends, and you bring slowly, you pull your line back, hold still that wire because it's gonna slip if you don't do that at the beginning. And then once it's tight, you can cinch it, and as you can see, the connection is made. It's super easy. Again, the tag end of the wire comes out at 90. Cut that off. You can cut the tag end of your leader material, and that's basically the connection that I have between the two. It's clean, it's easy, and it really holds, but make sure it's well cinched before you go fishing. Always tighten your knot, put on it real hard, and make sure it's nice and tight. Again, if you can't really see on that video, I'm sorry, but there is like countless videos on the web and to show you how to make the 6-turn Yucatan. But make 3 turns and it's absolutely plenty for pike. It's not going to move because once that wire is bent and you form that little barrel, it's not going to come undone. Same thing for the non-slip loop knot. Let's say this is the eye of your fast hatch, okay? This is your tippet material, so all you have to do is just do a simple overhand knot, just a loop like this, nothing complicated, okay? That's all you do. Put it through the eye of your fast hatch, bring it back a bit to have more room. Now put it back through the hoop, through the loop, like this, and wrap it a couple of times around and put it back again through the loop and then tighten. And that's basically your non-slip loop knot. I like this knot because it gives you a good hinge between the fast hatch and your tippet, and it gives your fly a lot of free movement to move between the hinge that you have here and the hinge that you have on the fast hatch. Your fly will be moving all the time, no problem. So again, you can check on the web. There is plenty of tutorials how to make the non-slip loop knot or the Rapala knot. But again, don't wrap it too many times because you're using wire, so it's stiffer than mono. So like 2 turns around is plenty enough. You'll have no problem for that. Okay, that's basically how I make my leaders. Simple. I can make them when I have cold hands, when it's wet, when it's windy. It's fairly simple. Learn these 3 knots. Perfection loop, 6-turn Yucatan, but only do 3 turn, and then the non-slip loop knot. These are the 3 knots that basically I had absolutely no problem using years after years. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that one. Clarified for some people how to make your pike leaders. It's really simple, don't worry. Just make sure you make your knots properly, you make your knots really good. Always cinch your knots, always tighten everything, make sure that everything won't slip on you. Pull hard on them and you should be good. And other last advice I can give you is change regularly. Don't let old leaders in your box, don't use old leaders. Change your snaps, change your fast hatch, refresh your knots, and you'll have no problem. You'll never lose a fish again, never. Unless you are really unlucky, and then, I mean, there's always an exception to the rule, but you should be fine from there. All right, thanks again for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you and bye bye.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Oh, l'épaisseur.
L'épaisseur déjà c'est bon.
Oh, oh. $48, $49.
49. That's what she is. Taking photo?
Oh yeah.